Okay, this is the front cover of a book that was edited by Stephen Hawking, and he also did the commentary. The title of the book is God Created the Integers, and this is a quote, half a quote, from a German-born Jewish mathematician who lived during the 19th century. His name was Leopold Kronecker, who once wrote that God made the integers, all else is the work of man. And what I want to demonstrate and show definitively in this video is that God not only literally created the integers, but that he also literally created two mathematical constants that are very integral to nature and therefore to creation. Two mathematical constants known as pi and e. God literally created these mathematical constants. They are non-repeating, transcendental, irrational numbers, and they have a unique relationship to each other in a formula known as Euler's identity, which we'll just go to, which is e to the power of I times pi plus 1 equals 0. And this was formulated by a Swiss-born 18th century mathematician, Leonhard Euler, who was also a Christian. So this is the Wikipedia entry on the book, which was written in 2005. As you can see, there are 21 mathematicians listed. We have 6 French, 5 German, 3 Greek, 3 English, a Russian, a Hungarian, an Austrian, and a Swiss mathematician. And as you can see, Leonhard Euler is listed. This is the wiki entry on Leopold Kronecker. As you can see, this is when he lived. As you can see, he was Jewish, and this is his famous quote. This is the wiki entry on Leonhard Euler. As you can see, this is when he lived. And if we just go to his beliefs, he believed in the divine inspiration of Scripture. He believed in biblical inerrancy. So you can read more about him here. He was a strong Christian. Okay, this is the cornerstone from which I'll be working. It is the author of the web page is Vernon Jenkins. If you'd like to go to his web page to get more details about what I'm about to present, this is his web page here. Okay, essentially the value of pi can be derived from the verse Genesis 1:1, and the value of e can be derived from the verse John 1:1. Both scriptures are definitive creation verses. Okay. This is the formula applied to both verses. It is the product of the letters multiplied by the number of letters divided by the product of the words multiplied by the number of words. And if this formula seems unusual to you, as it did to me when I first saw it, in essence it is God underlining the importance and the majesty of his word, the power of his word, and the word of his power. As you can see, each Hebrew letter has a numerical value assigned to it. If we go to the wiki entry on Gematria, you can see that Aleph is the first Hebrew letter, it has a value of 1. Bet is the second Hebrew letter, it has a value of 2. And it continues with Gemel, etc. And the values increase accordingly. Likewise in the Greek, only it's not called Gematria, it's called isosophy, where alpha is the first letter in the Greek alphabet, it has a value of 1. Beta has a value of 2, and so on and so forth. The only difference is between the Hebrew and the Greek is that the Hebrew has 22 letters and the Greek has 24 letters. Okay, the scriptural foundation for Gematria comes from Revelation chapter 13 verse 18, and we'll just scroll down to the King James. Here is wisdom, let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And what this means is that the Antichrist, his name in Greek or Hebrew, the letters can be exchanged for numbers, and those numbers will total 666. Now, this can also be applied to other names to demonstrate that it's possible. For example, Isus is the Greek word for Jesus. If we exchange those letters for numbers, such as we have here, the total is 888. The significance of 8 in the Bible, if you were to go to this web page here, biblestudy.org, and or Google meaning numbers Bible, and you'll get to this web page, and it has information about the significance of the number 8. Okay, back to our formula. As you can see, each Hebrew letter has a numerical value. So we have all the letters with the numerical values above. Those numbers are multiplied together. And then finally the number of letters, which is 28, is multiplied at the end. And that's divided by the product of the words. So essentially this number here is the gematria of this word. So these numbers have been added together, and then these numbers are then multiplied. And then the number of words, 7 words, which is a multiple of 28, 7 is God's number, gives you the value at the bottom. So that then achieves the value of pi, 3.141, and this underestimates pi by a mere 0.0012%. We go to John. We have the same formula applied, same situation, only in Greek this time. And it says this overestimates the value of E. Right? So the other one underestimated, this one overestimates by a mere 0.0011%. So the error factors effectively cancel each other out. And it should be noted that pi and E are irrational numbers, which means that they cannot be represented by integers. So for this formula to approximate E and pi using essentially integers is a very, very close approximation. Okay, let's go to the wiki entry on Euler's identity. Essentially, it's a very unique formula. Euler's identity is considered by many to be remarkable for its mathematical beauty. These 3 basic arithmetic operations occur exactly once each: addition, multiplication, exponentiation. The identity also links 5 fundamental mathematical constants: the number 0, the additive identity, the number 1, the multiplicative identity, the number pi, which is ubiquitous in trigonometry, the geometry of Euclidean space, analytical mathematics, the number e, the base of natural logarithms, which occurs widely in mathematical and scientific analysis. Both pi and e are transcendental numbers. The number I, the imaginary unit of complex numbers, a field of numbers that contains the roots of all polynomials that are not constants, and whose study leads to deeper insights into many areas of algebra and calculus, such as integration and calculus. Furthermore, in algebra and other areas of mathematics, equations are commonly written with 0 on one side of the equal sign. A poll of readers conducted by the Mathematical Intelligencer magazine named Euler's identity as the most beautiful theorem in mathematics. Another poll of readers that was conducted by Physics World magazine in 2004 chose Euler's identity tied with Maxwell's equations of electromagnetism as the greatest equation ever. An entire 400-page mathematics book, Dr. Euler's Fabulous Formula, published in 2006, written by Paul Nahin, a professor emeritus at the University of New Hampshire, is devoted to Euler's identity. This monograph states that Euler's identity sets the gold standard for mathematical beauty. Constance Reid claimed that Euler's identity was the most famous formula in all mathematics. The mathematician Carl Friedrich Gauss was reported to have commented that if this formula was not immediately apparent to a student upon being told it, that student would never be a first-class mathematician. After proving Euler's identity during a lecture, Benjamin Peirce, a noted American 19th century philosopher/mathematician and a professor at Harvard University, stated that it is absolutely paradoxical, we can't understand it, and we don't know what it means, but we have proved it, and therefore we know it must be truth. Stanford University mathematics professor Dr. Keith Devlin said, like a Shakespearean sonnet that captures the very essence of love, or a painting that brings out the beauty of the human form that is far more than just skin deep, Euler's equation reaches down into the very depths of existence. E raised to the pi times e and plus 1 leaves you naught but a sigh. This fact amazed Euler, that genius toiler, and still gives us pause by the by. So, Euler's identity is an amazing formula. It ties the value of e and the value of pi together. Let's go to Genesis 1:1. Says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, if we go to the Hebrew of that, you'll see that there is a word here that is not translated. Likewise, if we go to here, you'll see that there's no English representation for this word here. That is the Hebrew letter Aleph. That is the Hebrew letter Tav. As you can see here, there's Tav, has a value of 400, is the 22nd letter and last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Okay, so that's what the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet looks like. That's what the first letter looks like. So this untranslatable Hebrew word represents all the Hebrew letters. It is not alpha and Tav. It is alpha to Tav. It is all the Hebrew alphabets letters in the alphabet. So in the beginning, now remember that Hebrew reads from right to left. In the beginning, God created. The first thing He created was the Hebrew alphabet. And remember that Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega. So He is the Alpha and the Tav. It could be inferred that if Jesus is emphatically and definitively the first and the last, that the Father is the other 20 Hebrew letters that exist in between. So going back to Genesis 1:1, et is the untranslatable word. So if we go to the Strong's Concordance on biblos.com, you can see here transliteration is et. There's the alpha and there's the tav symbols. So John 1:1 reinserts itself back into the lost meaning of Genesis 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So Genesis 1:1. So Genesis 1:1. In the beginning God created. Now, if we go to the Hebrew, in the beginning God created the Hebrew alphabet. God created His Word. And it was with the Word that He then created the heavens and the earth. So in the beginning God created His Word. So John 1:1 reinserts itself back into this part of Genesis 1:1. So, given that the Hebrew letters have numerical values, God literally created the integers. And I believe that is why Leopold Kronecker said God created the integers. It was a reference to God creating in Genesis 1:1 the Hebrew alphabet. I believe because he was Jewish, he was aware of that. So in the process of literally creating His Word and the integers, God then also literally created these mathematical constants, pi and e. So, Leopold Kronecker, you are wrong. Stephen Hawking, you are wrong. God not only created the integers, He also created pi and e. Thank you.